Hello, hello, hello. This is HQ in the house. I have another video, reaction video for you. Please hit the like, share, and subscribe. We are trying to get to 10,000 subs. Thank you very much. Now, I want you to listen to something very closely because this is not about Democrats versus Republicans. This is about what politicians say in private versus what they say in public, right? And if what's being said here is true, it tells us something really disturbing about the people running our country. For real. Here we go.
Say to each other when we're not listening. So I want to know, what do Republicans say to each other when we're not listening about what's happening in America right now?
Look, so many of my fellow party members, especially come up to me because I say all this stuff out loud. And they in the green room at ABC, listen, you're so brave. That's so great. I totally agree with you. He's nuts.
Let's talk about that. If elected officials are privately saying that Donald Trump is nuts, but publicly saying greatest president since Abraham Lincoln, that's not politics. That's cowardice. That's cowardice. That's strategy. That's deception. They're lying to the American public because you're not just lying to the media. You're lying to the voters. You're telling the American people one thing while whispering something completely different behind closed doors. And that should make people angry. It makes me angry as hell. No matter which side you're on, you should be pissed off because what else are they saying privately that we're not hearing? If they think leadership is unstable, but they won't say it publicly, what does that tell y'all? What does that tell y'all? It tells you they care more about protecting their careers and their jobs than they do about protecting the American country. Keep going.
And then they go out on camera to be interviewed. They're the greatest president since Abraham Lincoln. And then they come back in the green room and they say to me, I have to do that, but I don't really mean it.
You have to do that? No, you don't have to do that. You choose to do that. Let's stop pretending grown elected officials are hostages, okay? Let's stop this nonsense. They're not forced to praise somebody. They are choosing power over principle, over the American people. And that's the problem. That's a real big problem. Because once you start saying things you don't really mean, you already compromise yourself. Now you're not leading, you're surviving. Your survival is dangerous to us American people. And survival politics is dangerous because when leaders are afraid to speak honestly, bad decisions go unchecked. This is what's happening right now in the damn White House. We got people afraid to open their damn mouth. If you privately believe something is wrong, but publicly cheer it on, you're a part of the problem, even with Biden. So y'all stop the nonsense before people start saying that. That's not bravery, that's compliance. And Americans deserve better than compliance.
That's what they say.
Like who specifically?
All right, Bill. The only time's not long enough to give you all the names, but I'll give you one. Lindsey Graham.
Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo. I think I'm a little funny, Lindsey Graham. Now, this is where it gets uncomfortable because when a specific name is mentioned, especially someone like Lindsey Graham, it forces the conversation into reality. Well, I knew he was a fake anyway because he looked like he fake. He always faking because before Donald Trump got elected, he was saying, don't ever elect that man. That man is crazy. We don't need that kind of politician in the White House. He was saying that. Lindsey Graham was saying that before Donald Trump got elected the first time. Then the minute he got elected, he was licking his boots. Somebody like Lindsey Graham was once very, very, very openly critical, purely critical, publicly critical. And then something shifted. Donald Trump became president. And now, whether you agree with it or not, That's not the point. The point is consistency. If what's being described here is true, if someone is privately mocking or criticizing Donald Trump, but publicly praising him, that's not loyalty, that's performance. And government is not supposed to be a performance art. This isn't a reality show. This is the United States government. These are our politicians. And here's what should bother people the most. If politicians are saying one thing in the green room and another thing on camera, then how do you trust anything they got to say about us? How do you trust the votes? How do you trust public statements? How do you trust press conferences? You can't build a stable country on private honesty and public fiction. That's how institutions lose credibility. And once credibility is gone, everything feels fake. That's why they don't trust y'all's ass in Washington, D.C. And when everything feels fake, people stop believing in the system. That's why they don't trust y'all's ass in Washington, D.C. That's how trust erodes. Slowly, then suddenly. And the audience laughing in this clip, these people just laughing, that's nervous laughter. Because deep down, people know this is how Washington works. We know this is how it works. We know that's what y'all do. We know y'all just want y'all jobs. We know y'all just want that money. They just don't like hearing it out loud. Let me say something. If you believe someone is dangerous, unstable, unfit, or wrong, and you refuse to say it publicly because you're afraid of the backlash, then you are choosing your own protection over public accountability. And that's contemptible. Not dramatic, contemptible, because leadership requires a spine. If you can't stand behind your real opinion publicly, then maybe you shouldn't be in office. Maybe you need to give your job up for somebody else. Maybe we need to vote y'all out. Apparently, that's what we finna do because y'all don't know how to act. Politics has always had strategy, but this is different. This feels like fear. And a fear-driven leadership is weak leadership all around the board. Weak leaders flatter power. Strong leaders tell the truth. They hit power with truth, even when it costs them whatever. Now imagine being a voter. We watching cable news. You see your senator praising the president. You assume that praise is real. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, they're whispering, he crazy as hell. He nuttier than bedbug. He two sheets to the wind all the time. Blah, blah, blah. If that's true, that's not just hypocrisy. That's betrayal. Because voters deserve honesty. We deserve better than that. You don't get to privately panic and publicly applaud. That's not integrity. And here's the deeper issue. If elected officials are scared to speak openly about Donald Trump and leadership, what does that say about the political climate we living in right now? What does that say about how much pressure exists inside that party? What does that say about how power is being enforced? That's the part that should concern all of us. Because when fear replaces debate, democracy shrinks. You're not supposed to be afraid to speak your mind in a free country, especially if you're a United States senator. What's up with that? So if what's being described here is accurate, then the issue isn't just about one person. It's about the culture. It's about a culture of silence, a culture of compliance, a culture when survival matters more than the truth. And that's not sustainable. That's not healthy, and that's not strong. Now, some people will dismiss this as entertainment. They'll just say it's just talk, but words matter because words reveal what's happening behind the curtain. And when the curtain lifts and we see politicians admitting they don't mean what they say, the public's trust takes another hit. And trust is a fragile thing. This country doesn't need more pretend, more actors. It needs honesty, even if that honesty is uncomfortable, especially if it is. Because if the people we elect won't speak the truth in public, then who exactly is representing all of us? That's the real question, and it's one we should not ignore. We need to know.